So what we're going to do is we're going to look at themes, because your final assessment is going to give you a choice to look at either the themes in Macbeth, or you can look at the motifs in Macbeth. And last week we looked at how a motif works. So today we're going to look at theme. What I have here are some colors. All right. And what we're going to do is I want you to, using your colors, find your group. All people who are red, you're going on this side. Yellow, you're going in the middle. Blue, you're coming over here. And green people at the table. So if you'll find your spot, please. Everybody have one? Everybody find your color, please.
You said blue, isn't it?
Okay, we need to go ahead and change our chairs so that we can move them into groups, please. So if you just pick your desk up, turn it, so we have groups.
Just
you don't need to turn. What is this for, you guys? Okay. All right. Find your space. Okay, we have one too many here, so if one of you guys volunteer to move to that group, and that'll give 3 in every group. And if you'll look around, there should be a yellow folder somewhere. Will you grab the yellow folder for your group? Got it? It's up here. All right, inside the folder, an envelope. Inside the envelope, what you have is one of the themes in Macbeth. And so we're going to do a complete study of that theme in Macbeth. So I want you to go ahead and open your folder up and share that with the people in your group. And here's the theme that you are exploring.
Okay, so we have the conflict between kingship and tyranny.
All right, and what I have here is your study tents. And what I want you to do is, as a group, I want you to go through these questions and look at this theme and how this theme is presented in Macbeth. And you may start at anywhere you want on the trifold. Put that away. You looking up a word? What you looking up? Look it up.
I would say
Look at that doing.
It's like it's a hallucination for whatever he's having.
yeah, like
The witches,
yeah.
because they kind of gave him insight on what's to come, and kind of like started everything.
I don't know about no symbols.
So you're just looking at people?
Well, he said the witches, and he said like his hallucinations.
His what?
Hallucinations and stuff that he has a lot.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you're looking at reoccurring phrases, anything that he says over and over again, that show up over and again, characters that show up over and over again, any symbols of anything. So consider all of those. Where's your textbook?
Charles in my book.
Even if you accuse somebody, it is common happened to him. She still called him out and said it was wrong for him to be acting crazy. Because he's supposed to be a man.
I think the dagger can relate to this thing because the dagger showed up. That was kind of like a test to see if he was gonna actually go through with it in a way. Like when he was saying, it's a quote. I have to find it. But when he was talking about grasping the dagger or something like that, I think that was also testing his manhood in a way.
Well, I was thinking like the witches. That's like it could be a symbol, or like because it said like most people say that like men or anybody, they fate already chosen. So basically, like that's what the witches was telling him. Like his manhood, like everything already set out for you. So this what you got to do to be a man. Like this how your life should go as a man.
Can you explain about the dagger? Like, how do you think it?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it because I don't.
You're talking about the dagger scene?
Yeah, so when he was like, when he was hallucinating about the dagger, I feel like when he was talking about, come let me crush thee, this and that, I feel that if that was sort of to the thing because it was testing him to see if he would actually do it because Lady Macbeth was already questioning his masculinity because he was being a coward, so I feel like that was also one way.
I mean, like, he still feel like he do whatever he wants before he even came king.
No, but when he got king, he really couldn't get shit though. Like,
I mean, I understand.
so like if the bodyguards of the king were awake, he would have got killed for trying to kill the king. Would he not?
But he did what he had to do to stop him from killing him so he could
Then
complete his
again,
task.
he still got checked by his wife. So,
What is white chicken?
because she didn't want to make him kill him.
It's not being checked.
Yes, it is. He's going with somebody who's supposed to be under him. Instead.
So you're looking at this whole idea of unchecked ambition. The fact that nobody's stopping him.
All right.
And so it can be corrupt. You belong with this group?
I just picked up a
Okay, that's fine.
That's not his
Erupting force unchecked ambition. Alright. Gracias. And this is what we'll be working on? So which part are we on?
introduction.
Alright.
But I was saying that that he's unchecked when he's king. So I was like,
What would make him unchecked? What?
Like people not saying something to him or like trying to do something to him when he completes it.
Why not?
Because he has power of being the king.
Was it the power he had? Just the fact that he was king? King Duncan was king too, remember?
I think the reason why he was unchecked as king specifically.
but
I think the reason why he was unchecked as king was also added to the fact that, you know, that feast he had that he invited everyone to.
Right.
I think a few of them thought he was insane after that feast because of the ghost of Banquo thing going on.
So you think that the reason he was unchecked is because people were afraid to check him?
Yeah.
People were afraid to say that, you're doing something wrong because they saw the reaction. Oh no.
Yeah, and also.
And Shira says no.
I mean, that could be one aspect to look at it, but I wasn't looking at it like that.
yeah, when we was trying to answer the question, it was like something that was reoccurring is that he set people to go kill
Right.
instead of like, cause he was like unchecked, like they had to do what he said because he was more so the king. So it was like, well, and he manipulated them to doing it anyway.
That's possible. That he controlled them. So does that corrupt people? Does that make people corrupt? The fact that nobody will check you, will that cause more corruption?
Because you feel like you can do whatever you want to do.
And my thing is, the first time, it's like he sent murderers of all things. Like he sent like people that was in jail to go kill somebody. Like he got them out of jail to go kill them, and it's like they already have like a I guess like a bad mindset in a sense.
So here's the question. That whole idea is, when you're talking about that corrupting force of unchecked ambition, the fact that he continues to do these things that he does, is it that he was already corrupt and then he just does these things, or does the fact that nobody checks him make him corrupt?
I think it's the fact that nobody checks him. More so than anything else. Because it was through being convinced to kill King Duncan by his wife that made him in the long run go like, okay, I guess I have to kill King Duncan tonight instead of like later or something.
Well, more so, the little King Duncan thing was that was their best opportunity to do so because he was already in the house. But I feel like that he was already corrupt.
He was already corrupt
before he did the corrupt thing, because like the killing thing, it's like he's trying to cover up his tracks more so from what.
You guys agree with that? That he was already corrupt? Yes.
Could you say that theme is the difference between the contrast of kingship and tyranny? Could you say that Macbeth killing King Duncan and Banquo knowing that he achieved his title of king through foul means would be a difference of that? Because a true king knows they'll reach kingship and he don't have to do any foul means or any type of murderous or deceitful games, while tyrant just takes what they want. Because I've read about several tyrants, and the thing about tyrant is they always believe they're right, and when they want something, they always will take it. They're not exactly the most friendliest either. They're very egotistical. They believe everything they do is just, and that they believe that their actions supersede everybody else. And if they want something, that means they should have it.
Yeah, that was considered a tyrant. So then when you look at this thing, the contrast between kingship and tyrants, and you look at it, what parts of it do you look at and you can say that at this point this proves this thing? Is that where you're at the body? Yeah, what prove? Can you get to one point in that play where you can say this is where it comes to fruition? This is where we can say that, this proves this thing.
Well, actually, with that is how, with a tyrant, because they're so selfish and self-centered, the people don't necessarily like them. Usually, the people are forced to be there. And the fact that how with Macbeth, about 90% of his forces, which made up of the other lords, betrayed him. On the other hand, with King Duncan, he never had to worry about that. Everyone loved and respected him. They always approved of him, and he always felt the same way about them.
But can we get to one point, though? Is there one point where you can say that theme just shows up? Is there any one place where it shows up? When he kills Banquo, you think? Why?
He had already killed the king, and he knew that if Banquo got in his way, he would eventually become king, or his friends would become king, and that's why he wanted Fleon to kill.
So that's where it starts, that contrast between kingship and tyrant. So do you feel he becomes a tyrant at that point? Does he?
Yes, because he's actually hurting the country by killing all the future kings.
So he becomes
by killing Banquo, he's getting rid of all the.
He is right, because he did want to go after the son too. Yeah. So is that the point where he becomes a tyrant?
I would believe so, because, as you said, he's erasing any of the competition. And a king, well, for starters, any leader knows that they're not going to be in that position forever, and it has to be passed on eventually.
Yeah.
While a tyrant, they don't want to give up that position no matter what. They'll be willing to do anything they believe will prolong their stay in that position. So by killing Banquo and Fleance, he kills the competition, because from the prophecy it said that Banquo's sons will become king as well, So if he kills the son, that means he has no competition, and he's able to solidify his thing as a king.
Okay, so you say it's banned for. What about when he kills King Duncan? So
That's also another one as well. Really, they all can correlate with each other, but I want to say because so another way is how even with memes like that, if they can be able to correct themselves before allowing themselves to go too far. Really, he went too far with killing King Duncan in the first place. But if he's going to correct himself and be able to repent by because there are stories where although they do the deed, they understand what he did was wrong and do everything they can to try and make up for it. That is a possible way. But the fact that he killed Banquo shows he was too far gone. He was planning on staying on that side of the that side of the morality.
that side. I like the way you said it, side of morality.
He had to do what he had to do. So he did some
Okay, what we have right here, we're going to freeze and reflect. So if you'll take one of the sheets that we have right here, depending on where you are, just go to that part and fill in information. Anything that you discussed, anything that will help you. Remember, this is the guide that's going to help you with writing your paper. So if you started with the body part and you answered those questions, just jot down any information you have, just to freeze and reflect, okay? Stop where you are and reflect on what you've discussed. Okay, you guys started with the body. We're going to use a few more seconds to reflect, and then we're going to go back to our discussion. Thirty seconds. Okay, resume. So you guys started with the body.
No, we just did introduction.
You did start? Okay.
More or less,
Yeah.
Understandable. It was easier to understand. I couldn't really find such a simple conflict. Yes.
Because consider some of the symbols now. Think about some of the things that are in there. Some of the things that reoccur when we talk about motifs. That will work too. The motifs that we looked at. Consider those things. Consider blood. Yes, sleep. Come on. Consider those things as symbols. They work because those motifs, that's going to help you to develop your writing. Because when you're looking at it, when you're talking about the theme, those themes are supported by those motifs. So you want to be able to add those in too. Okay?
And I feel like the body. But when it says identify at what point in a play does the author actually put this in? Like, wasn't there like a thing when he was talking, like he was in his room, I believe, and either the servant was outside his door, or he was talking to, I don't know, either he was talking to himself or he was talking to somebody.
Too much so we're looking to talk to himself.
Because I feel like he was talking about, I'm just being bad, I can do what I want, and all this stuff. Like, not, I don't know who to say it. I don't know if it's either act 4 or act 3. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a part. I'm trying to think of what he said. Because I'm trying to give like like evidence to prove that he killed people because he thinks he's not going to get back where he's coming from.
Protect his family, even though when he just left everybody, they had thought he was a coward and stuff, so they would question about him.
It was like, that was something else. Just up in the English. Like, that was something that was going to affect his staff. Okay, affect his. Like, I mean, not his, but other people on his mind. How can he walk away from a hard time? Like, that's basically saying all the other people that was with him was basically saying that you're not a man, or you're not manly enough, and that affected the rest of his family. What happened to him?
It can show how they like dependent on him. Masculinity makes you seem as like you're always supposed to be dependent on him. He's just one man, but they think he affected his whole family. I guess his whole. What was he, a Thanos? Was he a Thanos?
Who?
Macduff?
Macduff, Fife. You remember he was staying Fife. Remember because when he said that he asked him if he was going to go to Scone to see Macbeth crowned, and he says, no, I'm going to Fife. You remember Lady Macbeth said the Thane of Fife had a wife? Okay.
Yeah, I guess him leaving, he was supposed to be a man and all that. Like, him, it made them think that he was changing, or like he was going to affect everybody. So making him seem dependent, like masculinity always supposed to be like, dependable.
And that can affect how you live your life. Cause like if you feel like, well, if other people feel like that you the one that they need to always depend on, then you can never be straight. You'll never be satisfied with yourself because you're always trying to satisfy others.
Do you think that was Macbeth's case? That he was trying to satisfy others, or was it about him?
I don't think it was about him because before his wife got into his head about becoming king, or before the witches got into his head about being king, it was a thought, but it wasn't something he had to do because like he was living a good life. He was one of the top soldiers, and everybody loved him and Lady Macbeth before him trying to overtake and become king. So him trying to prove his masculinity or trying to prove something that he wanted after the fact that somebody told him, somebody installed in his head that he wanted something. So he had to prove himself to others to get something that he thought he wanted.
So does masculinity make him cruel, or was he cruel all the way already? Was it that masculinity makes people cruel? So then you're basically saying that all men are cruel?
No, I think when like society starts to question masculinity and like we maybe.
Got it. So it's the questioning of masculinity that makes a person cruel.
The questioning, and when people putting things in your head, like say for instance, you can tell somebody that they don't have enough masculinity because they don't play a sport.
Okay.
But I mean, it's many men that don't even do sports like stuff. They do other stuff, and they still got a form of masculinity. And it's like once you questioning what's really going on, they can never really say what it is because they always got to question something. They always got to try to prove themselves.
Always proving himself. So you think Macbeth was trying to prove himself the whole time?
I think when like you approach masculinity, like you know how it's fatal flaw, the main one is supposed to be ambition. I
Yeah.
think when
So would you consider his fatal flaw? That's not his self-doubt more than ambition?
is like after discussing this, I think it's self-doubt more.
Huh? How do you come to that conclusion?
Cause like basically it was just throughout the stories his question of his masculinity.
Uh-huh.
And so he believed that he wasn't a man. We like said different symbols like the dagger was supposed to be like a symbol of him like accepting masculinity, calling him to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife, she was questioning him about that. So he was scared. He was scared, but everybody else thought, oh, he wasn't supposed to be scared. He was
Right, because he was a man.
right. So I
And
think
it was like, and when you go back to it, he already had experience with the dagger or sword. Because he did fought wars, but it's like if he had masculinity, because to go out there and fight wars, you have to have some type of masculinity. And when it was just like his wife, I feel like his wife was the one to actually make everything happen because if the woman you love or the woman you married to questions who you are, then I feel like you don't know who you are. Well, you feel like you don't know who you are. If your woman questions who you are, you feel like you don't know who you are.
So it was the self-doubt that caused the cruelty, not the fact that he was just masculine.
Because he was, in this case, he was already masculine. He didn't already kill people. It was just the question of the self-doubt, like, am I worth my wife? Like, am I enough for her?
I think with him already being a soldier, his masculinity was never like
In
put
question.
into question.
Okay, got
So
it.
like once it actually was, once with him becoming a king, but he was like, how am I supposed to do this? And once his wife was like, you have to do what you have to do. I think that's what it was.
So it's the self-doubt. It's not
It
masculinity.
was self-doubt between Macbeth, but she was being selfish because she wasn't thinking about his feelings. She was only concerned about what he had going on, but she was concerned about how he felt.
Huh.
I think it's
We're talking about a lot of great things.
A lot of great things. That's wonderful. And what kind of great things have you talked about?
We talked about, like, when we talked about our conclusion, we basically said because we got the contrast between perception and reality. So we said what people, like, basically think is right or like it's right, most of the time other people will think it's wrong. So, like, how, like, Macbeth thinks that it's okay for him to, like, kill the king and kill everybody else just because he wants to be king and basically get what he wants. And so, but everybody else would know it's wrong if they knew what he was doing.
Okay, so
And also, it was saying about humanity and the world. It was saying how they use manipulation to like mess with people's psyche to make them do certain things that they know. Like basically saying like in the industry, like rappers and stuff. Like this is what I thought of. How they would tell them certain things to get them to. Like you sell your soul or whatever, and you could be the greatest rapper and all of that. And in this situation, if you kill them, you can proceed and be in their in their spot.
So this whole theme, when you look at this whole theme, and you're looking at what aspects of it?
we're looking at, well, the theme was like perception and reality was like their point of view and how they kind of had their moral code was kind of being, like you could say, was being manipulated. So with Macbeth, his perception of first it was like I didn't want to kill the king, but his wife manipulated him to do it. So when he started doing that, and it became like easy for him to kill more and more people, that was justified. But in reality, it wasn't. You can never really justify killing somebody.
So,
The three everything.
I thought I saw something that's
Do any of you guys remember where this quote came from? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
that was one of our writing prompts.
Yes. I'm trying to remember who said it.
Look it up right quick and find out.
I have it in my journal.
You have it in your journal?
Like I wrote down all the
Yeah, that was one of the early ones.
Yeah.
No, I ain't
I
right.
remember it because it's something I hear about in not just here, but in video games, stories, everything.
You said
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It is mainly an opinionated view of royalty, at least during the time of during or before the Revolutionary War. I want to say Thomas Jefferson. I might not have been who stated this,
Okay.
and that's why I mention it because this is a prime example of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. We have other examples throughout our history of similar types of characters. And Hitler, who brought the Germans back into another world war that they really wanted no part of. Kim Jong-un, to a degree. To some degree, even Donald Trump, because after this past presidential years, term, no one really likes him anymore. Not even the people that worked for him. So I mean.
So unchecked ambition, huh?
Yeah.
So unchecked ambition.
You don't have the.
Okay, we're gonna freeze and reflect again. Let's see if we can get more filled in. Freeze and reflect. Anything else you need to fill in? Any other discussions you've had? You need to put some more information in on your chart. Remember, you can actually use this chart for writing your paper. Yes, sir.
What was the 4 motifs?
What was 4 motifs? You had blood, sleep, children.
That's the one I was for.
Masculinity.
There you go. So you got them all? Just jot down any points you need to remember, anything you can use in your paper, anything that's going to help you with your writing. Have all groups finished all 3 parts? Have you finished all 3 parts? You're on the third one? Okay. Any textual evidence you need to cite, go ahead and jot that down if you just want to write down the numbers of those lines or maybe the scene.
261.
282. I'm trying to see when did he kill the king?
Go back to 1. You're going back to Act 1. Are you in Act 1? Remember, because it's right before the porter. It's right before the porter comes in.
The porter's in Act 2.
Yeah, porter's in Act 2.
It's 286.
You might want to jot down your line numbers too. That'll help.
It's 286 when the porter come in.
Or no, it would just leave the room. Yeah.
You find it? What exactly are you looking for?
When I think it's right here when she was questioning if he was gonna do it or not.
Where she actually tells him that he has to be a man. That was before that. You remember? Because go back to it and think about when she actually did that. It was after she got the letter. You know, because she told him he was too full of the milk of human kindness.
Oh yeah.
right after she gets the letter. And then she tells him, he says, no more of that.
Well, she got the letter from the messenger.
Okay, she got the letter from messenger here. And that's when they get right, that's when the king comes. So this is when she tells him, Duncan comes here tonight. There you are. And said, when is he going? And that's when he says, she tells him that she wants to go ahead and do what she wants to do. You see it?
We can reference page the Y.
You find it? Okay.
We can reference page that to 270 and 270.
Did you check the lines? Make sure you check the lines. Did you find which lines? Because she tells him, and then go back here where she looks at it when she says something, your face is a book that men can read what your secrets are. So that's another place where she points that out.
That's what I was looking at, was like to show her the stern face.
Yeah, right. And that's what she was trying to tell him, to be calm, and she told him, let me handle everything. And remember, but after that now, okay, you have to consider that part too, because after that, that's when she goes back and tells him that he has to go in and be she said, be the serpent underneath, look like a flower, be the serpent underneath, and then leave tonight's business up to me. Got it? Make sure you write down your lines so you be able to get to it now. Okay, we're going to resume and finish up. Yes, sir.
Ms. Davis, we had a question.
Yep, got a question. Your question is?
You were talking about a scene.
Uh-huh.
So I said there was a scene where either he was talking to himself, like he was like saying his thoughts with himself, or he was talking to somebody specifically. I'm talking about like that.
Uh-huh.
And he was talking about how like he's like, since he's in control and everything, like he could do what he please, or he could do what he wants. But I'm just like, either it's like the scene where he had told the servant to go outside his door.
That was right after the murders. Well, that was right before he tells the murderers. Right, we go to the murderers and look at the part where he says to them that that Banquo was your enemy. Then he tells them that they should to leave tonight's business to me, and I'm going to tell you where to plant yourself. So go back to that part. Look at those lines.
All right.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. What is that?
I said, when you're not prepared, power can corrupt a person.
If you're not prepared.
Pretty much, if you're not prepared to know your limits and what you should and shouldn't do, that line will slowly blur the longer you're in power, because it's kind of like with Trump. With him, because because to be honest, I know a number of people have said he wasn't really expecting to win. That's what other people say. And
yeah, that's true.
I can kind of believe that because of how, well, starters, not only did he not really have any background in law and whatnot, he didn't know how the rules went, because the way he works, because I heard people say this, and honestly it makes sense, you try to see it more as a tyrannical rule, because if things don't go his way, y'all supposed to be angry about it and whatnot. Because despite what anyone says about Obama, despite anything he might have done, at least he conducted himself in a manner that was...
So he doesn't reflect a tyrant. So when you look at this whole thing, the corruption between kingship and tyrant, is there a contrast? Is there a line? How do you move from being just in leadership to moving over to tyrant? Is it some line that you cross, or what?
Well, while you're in leadership, you consider, like I said, the group. You consider your goals and what you need to do, and you try to make sure everyone's in place of what they need to be doing, and that you actually care for the group. You care for them as a whole. Your view isn't just on your own goals. Your view is on everyone's. While a tyrant, on the other hand, they only view their own goals and their desires. Kind of like how there was this character in one of my novels. He ruled over an entire country. He believed his country was always the best, and that, and on looks, it did seem that way. Except the means he achieved it was that he would pretty much take what he wanted. He was very egotistical and believed that he would never need any help, and anyone who even felt like he was in his way, he would crush them under his foot. So really, a tyrant pushes anyone aside that they believe would hurt their goal. when in reality, they should be only doing that to the actual enemies of the group.
So then, what is this whole theme? Then we're looking at this whole theme of kingship and tyranny and where it fits. What does that say about humanity and human beings?
Well, for human beings, for people who can understand, people who can understand the goals of the many can actually be the leaders because of how they know what to focus on, what to do.
You guys agree with that? If you can understand the goals of the many, you know what to focus on.
Yeah, I can kind of agree. I mean, yeah.
You can still understand it, but
You can
that doesn't mean
understand
if
it
you want to
better.
act
Well,
on
if
it.
you want to, what's what I'm looking for? Basically, if you want to, if you're keeping their goals in, what's what I'm looking for? Basically, what I'm trying to say is, as long as you are trying to accomplish all of your goals, while also,
But you saying your goals, does it?
I mean, not your goals.
Because then won't you become a tyrant? If the goals are yours, what do you guys think? That
It's like yours mixed with others. I feel like it won't become a tyrant. Like if you're mixing with yourself and others.
so you got to be able to mix it up.
Yeah,
You have to have a common interest, and that's how you won't become.
yeah.
So, but when you look at this whole theme and idea, when you talk about humanity, you talk about the world. What evidence is there in this writing that says that the way that we look at the world actually can, in a way, be in a way given to other people or inflicted on other people just because of our own views of the world? I mean, the way we see things, we say, hey, this is because I believe it like this, so you take it this way too.
Could you restate that?
Yeah, the whole idea that when we look at this thing, that it says the contrast between kingship and tyranny. There's a contrast there. But when we talk about how this thing works with humanity and the whole world, how is it that this piece actually shows that and brings that to us? I mean, how does Shakespeare make us see that? Because somewhere along the line, when you look at the ideas that Shakespeare presents, he's in a sense reflecting the times that he's in. And we're just still discussing this whole idea with humanity and tyranny and kingship now.
In that case, because I'm really trying to draw this, because like you said, he drew it from his time. I try to draw this from the novels I read, because it's like, he's not necessarily, he always takes a leadership position, but he doesn't lead over a country like the other guy. But the difference between it is that the way he looks at it, he wants to fight for everyone. His goals are the last ones in his mind. He wants to make sure everyone is safe. Everyone is.
So who is the he you're speaking of?
Captain America.
Captain America, okay. So Captain America, we can consider him like a king, not a tyrant, or is he a tyrant? Where are you going to put him?
I put him also in the king's position because even somebody like, well, I could even put someone of, say, Thor and his father, because of how his dad is half and half. He's
Gotcha.
a bit of a tyrant because he's arrogant and only usually looks out for his own needs over half the time. But at the same time, when it comes to his kingdom and all his people, he will fight for them and make sure everyone is safe.
So there's a connection. Okay, we have one last part. So everybody, we're going to switch. And what I want you to do is look at your color, and we're going to create new groups. We're going to create new groups, all right? Based on your color, you can only have one of each color in each group. So find your new group, please. Only one of each color. One of each color in the group. That means everybody but one person has to leave. Everybody but one person needs to leave. And we're just going to spend some time sharing out what you've discussed in your group and discussing your theme with other people. Because maybe somebody might want to write about a different thing when writing time comes. So make sure you, first of all, share what your theme is. Explain any information that you gain. Go ahead and evaluate, the different themes you have here, because we're going to do one final question with this. Everybody has somebody? 1 of 4. There you go. Got one of each color. Yep, there you go. And you moving over there? Yes. All right. And you can have your discussion on your themes. Make sure you tell them what your theme was, okay?
Theme was the corrupting force of unsafe conditions and the like it first started.
Christian wants to see your thing.
That's when it became like unsafe because
Okay.
For Bible, we said some things for this thing is present can be like basically when like in Duncan, King Duncan was killed, Banquo and like some of his court were like killed and stuff like that.
Those points are 3 scenes that we used in the Bible, and humanity and the world.
Also, we were saying that this thing is present because when they killed
Like basically what Beth did, he killed King Duncan, and like in order to cover up his tracks, he continued to kill people who got in his way or who was betrayed.
So like that's how the perception to the reality is. So like it's cute. And so yeah, for conclusion, we said that basically like how this like what this is about like humanity in the world is that like people perceive that some things are like are right, but that will vary because in reality most of the times what they're doing is wrong. For example, Macbeth think it was okay to like kill the king and kill whoever he needed to in order to become king. But everybody else would have, if they knew what he was doing, they would have been like, that's not okay, that's wrong. So,
The first one was the Macbeth.
Like in general, like
Somebody tell you something. Are you going to patiently wait to see if that's going to happen, or are you just going to do what you can, work around it? I think that's where they come in, like, can really make his own decision.
Alright.
So, I can't really explain. But for the third one, we talked about, I said that humanity in the world, we hold men to a certain standard, and when they don't meet the standard, we question their manliness. So, like, even when, like, Cortez was saying that no matter, like, what men do, if they do something wrong, or if they don't do something right, we question, like, oh, are you a man, or you're weak? And he was also giving an example of how, like say if a guy doesn't play a sport, how we're like, oh, he's not a man because he doesn't play a sport, or he's not the typical guy because he doesn't play a sport. And then one of my examples was like men who are into theater or like the arts, or like they like to draw. And sometimes we question them like, oh, they're not men because they like to do this, like to do that. So that's what we were talking about. Cortez also saying that if how Lady Macbeth was questioning his manliness, he was saying that if your woman has to question who you are, then you don't know who you are yourself. So basically, he also says that because of Lady Macbeth's questioning,
He was a boy, right?
Actually take down Macbeth, but in our reality, Macbeth knew that you left, so at the same time when you trying to take down Macbeth, you put your family in danger.
He should have took him out. Or he should have just told him to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but it's like Cortez said, back in their time, of course we wouldn't do this now, but in their time it's actually rare, and this happened a number of times, that usually when if one person or family does something, they usually try to make a statement through it. They usually try to make a statement through it and just murder their entire family, but not. Of course, we're going to do this now, so that's definitely immoral. But back in their time, it was actually understandable in their perspective because
The contrast between kingship and tyranny. For my introduction, I talked
They talk about the killing of children, how it was a big factor in determining if you were a tyrant or a king, a great king, because Macbeth was adamant about killing Fleance and Macbeth's children so that he could. Fleance and Donovan?
That's a good point. How that connects with the idea with children, because you have to be at a different level to kill children.
Tyrants kill children. Kings only. And he did it mostly so he could keep his kingship forever, and he didn't want anybody to take that power away from him. And for the Bible, there were 3 scenes at least that presented the theme. I said one of them was Macbeth when he killed Banquo.
So like even that, like he still wanted to keep his masculinity and stuff. So like he took away logic and all that to show that like masculinity doesn't involve logic either. And so another scene was when he was visualizing Banquo and stuff. Like this was obviously like PTSD or something, but even like he was still called out for like going through that, and he was still expected to be a man. So it kind of showed like how bad it is, I guess, to be a man because of what you're expecting, and it kind of like puts them in a bad position, I guess. Okay, so the conclusion basically, so I was like, self-doubt is actually Macbeth's greatest fatal flaw instead of ambition, because it didn't start until his man was questioned, because he was a soldier and stuff. So like, it never had got questioned until he was told he was gonna be king and all that, and when he was. And then so I was like, society, they made a real definition of manhood, and it was that of being unwavering in pursuit. So it's supposed to give more like fear, tactics, all of those things that like are natural for you.
I think I looked up what I did. I looked up the word parent and reality. It says existing as something as a permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute. And that's basically like the things that was making him question his masculinity. Like, for example, his wife made him question his masculinity by I was pushing her. Like, she wasn't pushing him, but she was trying to get him to do something. Yeah, she was manipulating his mind. She was trying to get him to do something that he never done before. Like, that could be anything. That could be today. Like kids, even men and women, like they. Masculinity can be tested by like questioning what they're doing with their life. Like other people can feel like they like that on track. So that's
Masculinity used to be strong, I think because so
like a whole bunch of people like you gotta have this and do that to be a man. You gotta hold yourself up. I mean, that statement of holding yourself up to a certain standard, like that has always been an effect with man.
Yeah, really,
the perception was to do anything that said you achieve power. And the conclusion was perception is a person's point of view. Their opinion is not absolute because ideas vary. So with relating to the play, with Macbeth, like I said, because he thought that he could just do whatever he had to do to get power. It didn't matter who had to step on to get it. He thought he was right. He kind of kept on trying to justify himself that because he was king, he could do whatever he wanted. But in reality, he was really like being a tyrant. He was just being wrong. Everyone kept on saying you're being wrong. He didn't understand.
So for simple suicide, but every time Macbeth shows his purpose, he's killing somebody. For the characters, we had Duncan for the kingship, and then Macbeth for the tyranny.
How'd you break that up? So you're going to say that Macbeth is the king and So Macbeth was a tyrant and the king was a king?
Kind of.
Kinda?
Like he showed more kingly features.
Characteristics, okay. So, do you feel that Macbeth was ever a king?
No, not really.
What do you guys think? Was Macbeth ever really king?
King, no, but maybe he was a soldier.
He had king qualities when he was a soldier. So,
He kind of.
so power changed him.
Yes.
I think. I go my group. I'm saying no.
You gonna say no?
I don't think it was the power that changed him.
Then what changed him?
It was the way he attained power. Like, it was what Jordan had said. With a lot, he just kept on having to cover his tracks. So it wasn't seen that he did foul play. Like, he was just like king just by like the right way. He would be like a good king. But because he had killed the king, he had to keep on killing more people. So it wouldn't be like noticeable. But everyone just ended up finding out.
So, do you feel Macbeth had it as a king-like qualities? Was he ever a king?
He had the qualities. I said he had the qualities, but he never showed them. Like what you said, when he was a soldier, he had valor, he had bravery, all the like kingly things that people would look for, and people even like acknowledged him for it. But it was just when he took it upon himself.
Because he had the characteristics. That's why they decided him. Like, was Duncan with that, they chose him.
Okay, so he had the qualities to be a king. So what stopped him from being king?
The way he came in and.
But what stopped him from? What changed his way of becoming king? What was there?
I don't think he really.
You don't think he had the qualities? Jordan said he didn't have the
It's
qualities.
like saying like a soldier in the army could be like the president of the United States. You gotta have like a different mentality to like be like a king or be like a president. So, like, just because you like brave and knew how to kill people don't mean he's like capable of becoming a king.
So he didn't have the quality to be a king at all.
I don't think so.
I can see how to see what is the qualities of being a king.
So, and I asked this with the other group. So where's the line between kingship and a tyrant, or being a king and being a tyrant? Where's that line?
I feel like that line would be like, with a king, they know how to rule, but be fair with it. But with a tyrant, it was kind of like you're using your power to do what you want just because you can do it.
Not necessarily always fair, but I guess doing what's best for whatever reason is. I think that's the difference. Like when it becomes selfish, when you're using your power selfishly, and you're using it.
So when we consider the whole thing about humanity, when we talk about people, and I brought this up with the other group, the whole idea that we're still discussing kingship and tyranny at this point, even though this was a long time ago. So where is that line drawn? If we know where that line is drawn, what stops us from still going into that? If we know that there's a line somewhere.
In like everyday life.
In everyday life. What keeps us from becoming tyrants?
Characters and conscience and all those different things. Logic, fear.
But Macbeth had those things, didn't he?
No.
No?
He lost it.
He lost it.
I don't feel like you can just lose your morals. I mean, you can lose your morals, but I feel like they just always gonna like still be like kind of there.
So you're trying to say that he was evil in the beginning then? Are you saying that he was already evil? Because, no. If you can't lose your morals, then that means...
I feel like my thing...
Ignore them, okay.
I think my thing kind of, like, it was perception. It was more like he felt like what he was doing was right, or he needed to do it. He felt like he did what he needed. But in reality, he was being a tyrant.
Huh. All right.
Mentality.
So it's the mentality of it. Okay, so is that everybody? Have we got all four? You're missing a green? Okay, considering who you have in your group, here's a question.
We're missing a red.
You're missing a red? Okay. Here's a question for you, for everybody. If you've looked at all of the themes, is there one theme that's more dominant in the play Macbeth than the other ones?
Masculinity.
I feel like that all the things coincide because Robert was talking about their thing, and I was like, I see how, because he said something about how Macbeth was always trying to prove himself, and so I was like, well, that relates to what we were saying because what my thing was the inherent cruelty and masculinity, and I was saying like he was trying to prove himself to being masculine, and he said that he was trying to prove himself of being a worthy king, but he was actually becoming a tyrant. All the time.
I think I guess masculinity would be you said the strongest thing, because it kind of breaks it down into why, and it goes like I guess into a psychological state and like addresses why he did it and then how he did it and how society pushed him to do it and why a once noble man turned into a tyrant or cruel.
Anybody else? What theme is the overall arching theme? Is there one theme in particular that defines this piece of literature?
It's not really exactly just one theme.
Oh, so it's not one. Okay.
Because it's like Coach had said, whether it's all or a number, they all coincide with, no, but they coincide with each other because one thing leads to another. Like how he said, his want to prove himself as a man led him becoming a tyrant.
Okay.
Also, it also led to him becoming corrupted as well due to his ambition.
Okay.
And what was your topic again?
Perception of reality.
Right. His perception of reality became skewed because of how pretty much everything fell apart. Like once he became king, everything just slowly fell apart. At that point, it wasn't because of his masculinity or anything like that. It's because his own ambition killed what he should have done, and pretty much his whole reign as a king was turned to ruin. Nobody wanted to fight for him. Nobody wanted to be working under him. And even the doctor said about how no matter how much you paid him, if he had the chance, he wouldn't come back.
Okay, so are all the things related? Do you see that? I mean, Robert, you make a good point that somehow each one of those themes connects. Okay, you studied a particular theme and you became an expert on that theme. If given the chance, would you choose to do another theme? Which thing would you want?
I keep my own.
You keep the one you had?
But if I had to choose, I would
I think it was a lot to write on and talk about.
It's what?
It's a lot to write on and talk about.
So which theme did you have?
I had the contrast between perception and reality.
So you like that whole idea of perception and reality. So how would you, and when you're talking about your paper, so now what you look at, if you look at your paper, the one that you filled out, you'll notice that you actually have notes for each part of your essay. You have notes that are going to give you things so you're going to put in your introduction. You have notes for your body, and you have notes for your conclusion. The final thing I want you to do is to pull your textbooks out and find as much textual evidence as you can to go ahead and add to that, okay? So put in as much textual evidence as you can in each level. So be able to support your argument with evidence from the text.
Does all the evidence have to come from the text?
No, you can actually use outside evidence. I want you to find textual evidence, but if you find something in history or in politics or in literature, current events, anything you can find to help make your point, go ahead and get it onto your notes, okay?
Would it be all right if we just wanted to change?
It's fine if you want to change. Definitely if you want to change, please change. That's the whole idea. Because maybe somebody said something that you really like that you want to change, you can change. Do you want a new sheet? Because you're going to try it? Start a new one?
You okay, we're on the back?
Yes, you can write on the back. Where are my new sheets? Oh, over here. Yep. So if you want to change over, is there anybody else who wants to change themes? You want to change themes? Okay. Oh, how did you get it?
Thank you.
There you go. You want to change themes? You're thinking about it?
I feel like perception of reality.
Perception and reality?
You can like add all the things
That is a good one. You can pull them all together.
To be honest, I feel like unchecked ambition probably better for me because the one thing I've really read about over the years is how ambition can lead to such negative consequences.
Okay, so you're gonna switch out things?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here you go.
You said we can incorporate all of them.
If you can figure out a way to put them all 4 together, then that works too. Sure.
Can I use multiple? Not all 4.
Yeah, but the thing is now, remember, you've got to write it. You got to make that a solid argument. Once you start writing this, you got to be able to explain it because you got to analyze that theme and talk about it. So if those 2 themes, if you're going to say they connect, you got to be able to prove that in your writing. Oh, sorry. If you put, you just want to try it? Okay, there you are. You want?
Mine was perception versus.
You gonna? What are you gonna change to?
Well, Miss Davis, I didn't know what the yellow one was because we didn't get to it.
The yellow?
Was the inherent cruelty, masculinity.
No.
You don't want to mess with that one? Let me get you a copy, okay?
Unchecked ambition. So, when we're writing our paper, do we have to just settle for one theme, or could we like do all 3?
I want you to try to really work one thing really well, but if by chance you can figure out a way to intertwine 1 or 2, but you really have to argue that point now. You still got to be able to analyze it and bring it to life. So it's not like you can just say, well, there's this theme and there's this thing. You really have to be, because the same thing you did with this analysis, that's what you're going to do with your paper, right? If you'll put your tents back into the folders, I'll collect those folders. Thank you.
Somebody looking there at the blue group.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
There was a lot of times that show about the
There's a lot of shows.
Yes. Got it.
Oh, Ms. Davis, you said we can use examples from not from the book itself, but from other forms of literature?
Yes, you may use other literature, but you must also include textual evidence because you're going to argue this point about Macbeth. I need something from the text to support that, okay?
Okay. All right. Because I have some points.
You have what?
I have some points in history and some other literature like Star Wars.
Okay. Okay.
I want to think about Dr. Doom.
About who?
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
He rules over he rules over a country called Liberia. Pretty much, he won't accept help from anyone, no matter what.
A real tyrant.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Well, like I said, he's a combination. As much as I hate to
Yeah,
admit it.
because he doesn't really not care for his people, but
He cares for his people, but at the
he's
same
just
time,
stubborn.
he's not only stubborn. He's
Well,
also
we can say that in a sense, Macbeth cared for the people somewhat. You think maybe a tiny bit?
The fact of how he was so easily to kill, like you said, murder children, and the fact of how a number of people even said we don't want to be here.
Oh,
we hate it here.
so you couldn't even make him a good king, huh? What you need?
If the people want to be there, you're actually at least doing some of your job.
Okay.
So can we use an example of R. Kelly, his masculinity being questioned?
Oh no, if that works. If you can make that work, I don't know how much is gonna work with proving a theme.
I just say that because even though like some people think that questioning your masculinity means that you're being feminine or you're not. In this case, we're questioning his masculinity.
I mean, that would be pop culture. It would be a definite pop culture reference. It would be. I can see that working. But you have to be careful not to let that become the topic of your paper. Yes.
No, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to put these papers over there? No.